filled another term, so I got 7 years in. But each year since I've been on this board, the county has received a letter, and I'm sure they did before, asking for some funds to be allocated to the Area Agency on Aging. And then I can explain it a little bit more. But through those 7 years, the amount of money that the county has sent to the Area Agency on Aging, here it is $63,355. That's what the county has done, and I will say that the county has been very, very speedy in getting this done. Within the first few months of the allocated time, they've got their funds in. Because they do that, the citizens of Hood County have received from Donnie and the Area Agency on Aging $1,882,620. That's a pretty good return on your funds. And the Area Agency on Aging of the Senior Center up here we're going to experience some budget cuts this year. So I would ask that the council look at, you haven't passed your budget yet, but I would ask that you go back and look and to see if you can put some funds in, some extra funds into their budget, because just their, I believe it is, just their Meals on Wheels is taking a $9,000 hit this coming year. That's a lot of people that we can't feed if we don't have some funds. So I would like to ask you to go back and reconsider that if you haven't done it already. Without that, with that done, I would like to say again, thanks to the city for being a part of what we've been doing, because you're very vital to what we do up there to take care of the citizens. The seniors in Hood, at the Senior Center up there, are not only our constituents, they're your constituents. And we think that they're a very important part of what we do. They're the people that brought us to where we are today, and we need not forget them. So without that, I'd like to introduce to you Donnie Green. She's been here 2 or 3 times before, and I appreciate what she's done for us. Donnie?
I'd like to thank the mayor and the council members for allowing me to be here. And I'd also like to say a very public thank you to JC. As he mentioned, he'll be reaching his term limit at the end of this December. He has not only represented Hood County well, he's also assumed a leadership position with our Regional Aging Advisory Committee. He served in every office there is and had to step down 2 years ago because he had reached his term limit as an officer as well. And Mr. Barker is also serving as an officer. He's been in that position for the last 2 years. So we're very, very indebted to you all and appreciate your leadership. And I'd like to echo JC's gratitude for the support that the city and the county provide to the Area Agency on Aging. What I'd like to do very briefly is share some information with you all about the services that we support, as JC mentioned. The services are available, but we really do look for requests that come in from your constituents, from our consumers. We do not engage in expensive advertising. Most of the outreach that we do is through word of mouth. So I'd like to mention, first of all, the services that we support through our contractors, such as Hood County Committee on Aging. Of all the services that we fund, the service that reaches the most people, that has the largest budget, is the Home Delivered Meal Program. We've seen huge increases in demand for home delivered meals. As JC mentioned, we're looking at some budget reductions this next year. And we know that at the same time that the revenues for that program are remaining flat at best, experiencing cuts at worst, that the demand is only increasing for home delivered meals. North Central Texas has one of the most rapidly growing populations of people age 60 and over. When I started with the agency, there were about 130,000 people who are age 60 and over living in our 14-county service area. This year it's about 390,000, and the demographers are estimating that by the year 2040 there'll be nearly 1 million older people in the 14 counties that we serve. So the home delivered meal and congregate meal programs are kind of the centerpieces of our agency services. All of the credit for those services go to our contractors, including Hood County Committee on Aging. They administer that program as well as the congregate meal program. And it's interesting that throughout the 14 counties that we serve, there have been a lot of challenges with senior centers remaining relevant to older adults. I've had a lot of people tell me, I don't want to go to that center because there are old people there. And the person who's telling me that is usually mid-80s or beyond. So it's getting harder and harder to attract new attendees to the senior centers, particularly those aging baby boomers like me who don't necessarily want to go to a center and play dominoes. With that said, the senior center that has consistently outperformed the others is the Hood County Committee on Aging, formerly known as Shanley House. We had them come and speak a few months ago in terms of best practices in strong attendance, innovative programming, really doing a nice job. I wish that that model could be taken to other counties. We also help support the demand response transportation program. In state needs assessments, transportation consistently emerges as one of the greatest unmet needs. And so through our contract with Hood County Committee on Aging, we're able to support demand response transportation for people age 60 and over that's provided at no charge to them. So through Hood County Committee on Aging, they can provide curb-to-curb assistance to doctor's appointments, to the grocery store, to the senior center. As JC mentioned, Hood County has made significant contributions since 2005, contributing more than $63,000 to aging programs. And as he mentioned, in turn, the Council of Governments has passed through a little bit more than $1.8 million to Hood County Committee on Aging for those nutrition and transportation services. But that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. What I'd really like to convey tonight is that we have a number of other services at the regional level that are available to Hood County residents who request them. And so I'd really hope that if you know someone who's experiencing a need that we might be able to meet, that you would share a brochure, that you would let JC know, who can get in touch with me. We have a number of services with more capacity. We just need those calls to come in. The major services that we fund at the regional level out of our offices in Arlington include information referral and assistance. We also have a benefits counseling program, and through our staff and volunteer benefits counselors, we're able to help people apply for special benefits that help them with their out-of-pocket health care expenditures. If anybody has a family member, a parent who's on Medicare, you know how confusing that can be in terms of deductibles and co-payments. And through our benefits counseling program, we can help people apply for special benefits that will take care of premiums, deductibles, that will help with their co-pays, that will help them choose prescription drug benefits that will minimize their out-of-pocket expenses. I love the benefits counselors. I sometimes refer to them as strange and wonderful people who really like paperwork, who love filling out forms and helping people get qualified for benefits. In addition, we have a couple of programs that target older folks who have been through some medical crisis and need some additional supports in order to remain in their homes. And through the Council of Governments Area Agency on Aging, we have a care coordination program that will send social workers out to older persons' homes and provide them a number of short-term services to help them remain safely in their homes at the same time that we're working to set up more permanent services through our agency. We can do things like build wheelchair ramps, widen bathroom doorways, install grab bars, provide medical equipment, nutritional supplements, medical supplies, emergency response devices. Again, those services are available for the asking. In addition, we have programs that assist caregivers. Caregivers are really the backbone of our long-term care system. Although I believe very strongly in what we do, I know that about 85% of all the help that's provided day in and day out is provided by a family member who doesn't receive any kind of pay, usually little or no recognition. And so through our agency, we're able to provide services to both the older care receivers as well as to the caregivers to help them remain in their caregiving role and provide some supports to prop them up when they're feeling stressed. We can do things like provide respite care. We often work with families who've not been able to take vacations for months and years because of their caregiving responsibilities. We fund counseling with a licensed professional counselor to help caregivers work through the often common issues of guilt and, I'm giving everything I have, I'm not getting any recognition. We can also help them out with education and training. We have professional educators who can help them learn how to transfer somebody safely from bed to a wheelchair. We also have a program that advocates for the rights of nursing home residents as well as people who live in assisted living facilities. Kind of a disturbing statistic, about 65% of all nursing home residents never have any visitors. And so the Ombudsman program is vital in terms of making sure that residents' rights are being respected. And if there is an issue, the Ombudsman will work with facility, residents, family members to get those issues resolved. We also have a very robust program that helps nursing home residents return to the community from the nursing home. And we work with residents who, in most cases, have been in the facility for months or years. We target those who are without housing, who may have co-occurring physical disabilities and mental disabilities, whether it's dementia or mental illness. And we set up all the supports that those residents need in order to return safely to their homes. That's a really exciting program that's really grown when other programs have been reduced. And I think one of the reasons that it's grown is the legislators have determined that supporting somebody in the community on average costs about 75% of what it costs to support somebody in a nursing facility. So it's one of those programs that makes people feel good, gets people where they want to be. Don't know too many people whose life goal is to go into a nursing home. We want to make decisions about when we get up, what we eat, who we share our space with, and that program achieves all of those goals while achieving some really remarkable cost savings. We have a couple of new programs that I'd like to mention very, very briefly. One is the Aging and Disability Resource Center, which is an interagency initiative supported by Pecan Valley Centers, the Texas Department of Aging and Disability Services. We're very fortunate that we do have space in the Pecan Valley Clinic on Pirate Drive, and through that clinic we're able to work with people of all ages, not just older people who may have disabilities or may be in a caregiving situation or want to make some plans in advance of need. We work with young folks who have cerebral palsy, children who may have autism, older adults who may have Alzheimer's, and we attempt to strip away all of those barriers that stand in the way of accessing long-term services and supports. If anybody has tried to find services for a family member You're probably familiar with, oh, we don't do that here. You're too young. You're too old. You're too rich. You're too poor. You've got the wrong diagnosis. You live in the wrong zip code. And so, again, we just work with all comers and help connect them to long-term services and supports. The other service I'd like to mention in closing is our grandparents raising grandchildren. And for the last 2 years or so, we've been able to work with grandparents who are at least 55 years of age and who are raising grandchildren under the age of 18. That's a population that's growing very, very quickly. Grandparents who are raising grandchildren are more likely to have low incomes, to be raising children who may have disabilities, typically very limited support. And so through those programs, we're able to provide services to the older adults. In some cases, we can help with the grandchildren's back-to-school clothing, with back-to-school supplies. We also have a small amount of funds that can be used to consult with attorneys and establish guardianship over the children. So again, the underlying message that I'd like to share with you all is, in addition to the financial support that we make available to the Hood County Committee on Aging, we do have a number of other services that are available at the regional level. We do encourage referrals directly from the public, from you all, from service providers, and we really would be delighted to be of service. So with that, if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Well, thank you. That's all good information. Anybody have any questions of Ms. Green? Well, we appreciate you making a presentation and enlightening us. I know as I'm aging, my parents are aging, and we all have to deal with this kind of a situation at some point in our lives. And I can only encourage our city manager to maybe look at putting on a future agenda an additional $15,000 to contribute towards the Meals on Wheels program at the Senior Center, and have that up for consideration out of this year's budget. We do have some excess funds, and I think it might be a good place for city funds to be placed. Thank you very much. Well, that's going to bring us to our consent agenda. Council members, you were given a copy of the July 17th, 2012 minutes. This time I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented. I'm going to need you to move a little closer to that microphone for me. Laurel won't bite you. 12107.
About halfway down there, I think that was meant to be, we already have quite a few golf courses. I think it's supposed to be, we already have quite a few golf carts in Granbury. There's only 2 golf courses in the city.
Can you point me to where that actually is?
12107.
Yes, sir, I've got that.
Halfway down, see where it says 40, 35 miles an hour?
Yes, sir.
Right in that area.
I see it just above that line. So strike the word courses and add the word carts. Is that correct? All right. Any other amendments that need to be made to this? So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as presented with the one addition of striking the word courses in item number 12-107 and replacing it with the word carts. Need a motion, gentlemen.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Hewlett, a second from Mr. Allen. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Brings us down to item number 1. This time we're going to open a public hearing. We'll open a public hearing regarding the proposed City of Granbury 2012-2013 fiscal year budget. We'll also consider and approve an ordinance providing for the adoption of the 2012-2013 fiscal year budget. Pursuant to the city charter provisions, a copy of the proposed budget has been on file with the city secretary since August 1st, It was presented to the City Council for review and discussion during the August 7th, 2012 meeting. Following that meeting, it was posted and published in the Hood County News that we were having this public hearing tonight, and that was published on August 11th, 2012. And I do want to remind you that as a public citizen, you do have the right to speak, and this is the time where I would invite you to the microphone to do so. Anyone? If not, we're going to close the public hearing and move on to deliberation. Council members, you've been presented with a copy of the budget proposal for 2012-2013. All in favor? I'm sorry.
Mayor,
I'd like to entertain a motion at this time or some discussion.
I would like to speak a little bit about the overall budget. I think we worked for 2 days, as you've already stated, in the budget workshop. I made it very clear throughout my term as a city council member that I was not for these raise situations which I see before us tonight. It was futile for me to speak to it before because we weren't at a vote situation. We are tonight. So I would like to ask that my peers here consider what I have to say. I'm going to move, Mayor, that we accept the budget and make an amendment to council expense account number 0110004300, and we remove $42,000 of that expense, and we place that into entitlement insurance expense account number 0110004110. That is my motion, and it is to be considered for a second. And that would remove the raises off the table, and that would put it into the insurance expense. And in fact, if there is any council member now or in the future that would like to have that benefit, that would be available to them just like it is to a current employee. And at this time, I understand there are actually two council members that are on the insurance. I want you to know, folks, that I really tried to figure out a compromise without giving a pay raise, and this was as good as I could do. So I make my motion and look for a second.
First off, before we can entertain your motion, I need clarification. You said the first budget item is 01-1.
Let me state it. It's titled council expense.
I got that part.
Account 0110004300. That has always been budgeted at $78,000 the last several years, and this year it's moved to $120,000 because of the raises. I'm asking that we remove the $42,000 from that council expense, and we place it into the title insurance expense, account number 0110004110.
We have a motion on the floor.
I'd like to discuss that.
Can't discuss it. It's got to be a second before we can go into discussion. So at this time, we've got a motion on the floor to adopt the budget with the one exception of making amendment to account number 0110004300 to reduce it by $42,000 and transfer that over to account number 0110004110, headlined as the insurance expense category.
I'll second.
We have a second by Mr. Hewlett, so now we can go into any discussion that you want to have, Mr.
The
Purple.
discussion I'd like to have is that this is basically, it's unequitable to the people sitting up here. And if we're going to do that, why don't we just see how many want to take a $500 a month decrease in salary and basically donate it to a charity that they're of their choice. To me, that's more equitable.
Mayor, would you like me to answer these individually or wait till the end?
Let me hear from anybody else.
A lot more than this.
Okay, well, we've got this one item up right now.
So, but the way you worded it, it was we were going to approve the budget
Yes,
That's
sir.
correct.
including this.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. There's a lot of questions
That's what
about the budget.
the motion was. You understand?
Approve the budget as is, except for this one change.
Yes. Now then you can ask for an amendment to also include whatever it is that you want to do.
Well, I think
Because we now have a motion on the floor to approve the budget. So if you have another amendment that you would like to add, this would be the time to do so, sir. And then we would need the first and the second to approve the amendment.
Okay.
Okay?
I would think that this $42,000 change would be totally inequitable to people sitting on the council. I have no need nor desire to be on city insurance, so I would be opposed to that amendment as it stands. The couple of questions here for the manager, please, if I may. Does the budget include $80,000 for professional studies and assistance in studying the lake level and lake capacities and the effect that that might have on the city going forward?
No, we were going to try to get that into the current. No, we were going to try to get that into the current year. When we talked to the auditors,
80,000?
the 80,000 as part of the surplus. When we talked to the auditors, they were simply going to do a restricted versus unrestricted adjustment anyhow. So
So the auditors will let you put that into this current year?
the only way they'd let current year, they would let just simply go through restricted, unrestricted. It would still flow through the expense account the next year, okay? And we would simply reverse out restricted, unrestricted reserve entries. Therefore, the way I'd like to approach it is to approach it as a budget adjustment next year anyhow. It's going to hit expense anyhow and go through it that way. I don't see any reason to do that this year.
All right. So, but that will be in, then you're saying that you're going to charge that?
I'll come forward with a
20 you're gonna-
adjustment for that.
That's going to be in 2012?
Yes.
Okay.
2012, 2013. Okay.
I understand that the county is putting $25,000 into a kitty for a clean air coalition based on our non-attainment of the attainment, whatever that is. You know, it's hard to know whether you're attainment or non-attainment, right? But anyway.
I got notified of that today.
Uh-huh.
And what I'd like to do is come forward in September to do another adjustment for the current year out of the current surplus and go ahead and bring it to the council.
So now you got 105 that's coming out of the current surplus, right?
No. The 80,000 is not going to, the auditors weren't really going to let me hit expense anyhow. So I'm going to ask for a budget adjustment for 2012-13 for the 80,000. We're going to do a 25,000 issue for this year. 80,000. It's not there yet. I'm going to do it.
Okay, so the $25,000 to the coalition, if we approve that, if we make an amendment to put it into this budget, it will come out of the current surplus, and you can go ahead and disperse those funds.
Right.
$80,000 for lake level expertise would be in next year's
I was going to make
budget.
that,
That would be a budget adjustment.
Yeah.
Okay. The current budget includes a 3% employee raise, and we're unfreezing employee positions to the tune of about $425,000, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Issue for me is I would like to see the $400,000 in capital improvements that are slated for 2012, 2013. I would like to see those capital improvements moved up to the current year budget, the surplus. If we move that $400,000 expenditure forward, we would be able to give the citizens of Granbury a 4.5-cent reduction in their property tax. So I would like to see 400 moved forward. How do I need to do these things? Do I need to make a motion on that, or what's that?
Well, at this time, I need to have you ask for the person that has the motion on the floor, which is Mr. Tyra. He's opened the motion to approve the budget with some amendments. You can ask him to also accept your amendments and make an amendment to his motion. So you would
totally unfair. That's totally unfair and put me at his mercy.
Well,
it's
then
totally unfair for my motion not to be able to come to the floor.
I understand.
That's totally unfair.
I agree.
Mayor, let me ask a question. Is it
All I can tell you is the protocol is that we've got a motion on the floor.
very clear we got a motion on the floor. We're going to have some great deliberation about it, and then it'll come to a vote. If it doesn't make it, well, then another motion will come forward. We're here, I think the budget item very clearly, the agenda item says we're here to approve the budget.
That's correct. And that's what we're working on.
Now, if you want to go ahead and call for the question, I'll be glad to entertain that at this time, and we can call for the question. And
Why would I expose myself to that nonsense?
well,
Mayor, let me ask the question, please.
yes, sir.
We got a motion and a second on the floor.
Yes, we do. But his motion also stated to approve the budget
Okay.
with one amendment.
Okay, if Mr. Tyra would pull that motion and read it for just for the insurance to be added to that instead of the salary increase, then we could still leave it open, couldn't we?
But the question we have right now, the motion we have, isn't of that nature. It is for approve. Okay. So yes, if you can convince him that to pull his motion, then we can wipe the slate clean and start talking on the other stuff.
He can restate his motion.
Well, let's make sure that we don't get out of bounds here on our consistent protocol that's been practiced year after year after year at this council dais. There's a motion on the floor and there's a second. The fact is that if somebody, Mr. Allen, Mr. Parsons, anybody else sitting at the dais, would like to make an amendment, they have a right to bring that forward now as he's spoken.
That's
He is
correct.
Say that forward. Now, the fact is that I think what Mr. Allen's asking me to do is to make a motion, to actually pull my motion back and make a motion that just actually includes moving
The adjustment
the
is what he's
adjustment,
asking
okay?
you to do.
And what that would do, in fact, Mr. Allen, are you trying to accomplish removing those salary increases off the table and putting that in the insurance like I would like to do? Is that what you're trying to do?
That's what I'm saying. If everyone want to go for it and do that,
He-
each one of us may have another one.
And that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to accomplish the adjustments prior to us voting on the entire budget.
Well,
That's
I would
that's
like to-
why I
No, yeah,
that's
I hear
why
you.
my
I hear you.
first that's why I first asked to entertain a motion to accept the budget. Then if we had just done that, then we could have gone through and made amendments all the way through. However, you stated that you wanted to do a motion that included the acceptance of the budget with the adjustment.
As you well know, I've made motions up here before that didn't get seconded. And let me ask you this question then, because I agree that if somebody wants to amend the budget, by all means, let's look at each amendment and go that direction. That's a great thing. We don't need to, not one council person needs to control this. So what I would like to do then is make a specific motion. I want to go back to the gentleman who seconded it, Mr.
I'll need you to remove your motion from the floor.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm only going to remove this motion from the floor if, in fact, the gentleman that seconded the motion understands the motion that I will make after this will be specific to this two line items. And we will not be approving the budget, folks. So this will be something that we can go line item by line item, whatever you have, Mickey, whatever I have, and get it done. Because what the mayor's saying, and I think that I agree with him in this sense, is that if I pull this, and if in fact Mr. Allen will second, or Mr. Hewlett will second this motion on this,
That's up to him to make that. I just need to know what you want to do at this point.
I'm going to call the question.
All right. I need a second on that.
No.
Yes, I do. I need a second on whether or
I
not
got
to
you.
call the question.
And you recommended that a while ago, Mayor.
I did. And that's going to die for a lack of second. So now then, once again, if we can ask you to amend your motion to just include talking about the adjustment, then we can proceed on.
Mayor, if I might, I merely second this thing. I mean, knowing that we need to open this up for discussion for amendments. Now, if it's going to create where we have to go through each individual amendments, I agree that Mr. Tyra down there needs to probably withdraw that one and we approve the budget. Am I hearing this correct?
Well, here's how I wanted to do it, gentlemen. I wanted to entertain a motion to approve the budget. We get that discussion going. During the discussion, you throw in your adjustments, your amendments, what you want to change in the budget.
And vote on them individually.
Then vote on them individually. Then you come back to the overall question, which is approve the budget. So that's how it should be done, but we've been locked up with the first amendment being locked in with the motion to approve the budget.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd just like to ask the city attorney then, in consideration of the deliberation agenda in the way it's posted, 1A and B, would that be appropriate, and could we vote, could somebody make a motion to approve the budget as is, it's seconded, and then we start getting into these amendment motions? And then come back, like the mayor said, at the very end and approve the budget?
I'm just telling you how we can work it through Robert's Rules of Order.
We're okay.
Robert's Rules of Order will allow you to address the major question, the major motion. It's addressed at the beginning and the end of the discussion. All these amendments are answered in the interim. Then you finally go back and you say, I entertain a motion to accept with these amendments.
Mayor, with all due respect, I ask the question of the city attorney.
I agree with what the mayor said.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor, I withdraw my motion. Clean
All right.
slate.
Okay, great. That's perfect. Now we have no motion on the floor. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to accept the 2012-2013 fiscal year budget as presented. Then we go into discussion. We have a motion by Mr. Hewlett. Need a second on this. Gentlemen, do you understand where I'm going with this? Apparently not.
Sure.
I just need a second so we can...
I'll be the rebel and second that, because we need to get this out.
Thank you. We've got a second by Mr. Perkel. Now let's go into discussion. Mr. Tyra, you've made some discussion regarding item number 01100430
I'd like
to reduce it by 42K.
I'd like to amend the first motion. Yeah, and the first motion is for the amendment is the council expense, the line item titled council expense, account number 0110004300. That we remove $42,000 from that account, and we move it to insurance expense, account number 0110004110, for the purpose of council members, just like city employees, take it or not take it. I feel like that's a nice compromise without giving cash raises. And in fact, and that's my motion.
You're going into discussion.
No, okay,
what I need to do is I'll clean this up. We've got a motion on the floor to amend the city budget for 2012-2013 to reduce the council budget by $42,000, increase the insurance expense account by $42,000. Needs a second, please.
And when we second, it goes into discussion.
Goes into discussion and a vote. Okay, we have a second by Mr. Hewlett. Now then, to discuss this item any further, let's speak about this particular item, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Since I made the motion, I'd like to state to Mr. Perkel and to Mr. Parsons that I really do appreciate their service on the council. But the fact is that we should not be afforded any other benefit that an employee is afforded. And if an employee comes here and says, I'm on my wife's insurance, they got great insurance, so I'm not going to take the insurance, we do not pay that employee that insurance as a pay raise or anything. They just don't get the insurance. And so this amended budget here is a way to not give yourself a raise, and if in the future anybody needs to take the insurance, that's a benefit just like an employee. But let's don't put ourselves in any different position. They only got 3% this year, and I'm asking you all to make a compromise here, give a benefit to you all if you want it. I, for one, I'm not going to take it. Others won't take it. Some will. But this will be a great benefit for the future for other council members.
Okay, you've spoken on this. So now then, Mr. Parson, you want to speak on this particular item, please?
I think it's patently unfair, and it sounds like a shell game to me. Move 42 out of one line so it put it into another. It's a shell game.
We must have had that shell game going about 3 years ago, because I believe both you guys, and I don't know about Mr. Purple, got insurance from the city when you didn't need it whenever you was younger than 65, didn't you, Mickey? I didn't hear no shell game then. I'm sure the taxpayers
That's
didn't either.
that's because it was a deduction of the salary, Tony. It was a
No,
reduction
it
of the
wasn't,
Tony.
Y'all gave yourself a
Hang on.
$15,000 a year raise that year. I know what year it was, and it's not fair. We had it in our deal.
So what does that have to do with tonight?
One at a time,
What does
please.
that have to do with tonight, Tony?
One at a time. It's Mr. Allen's floor right now.
Could
Hang
I ask
on.
the payroll person to go get the records that shows that in those years he's discussing, my salary was reduced by the payment of the insurance premium?
You through? The year that I came on, we voted to cut the salary by $500 a month. The year before that, you had an insurance and so did Mr. Tyra. And I didn't know it. I said it last year and I said it again. Had no idea that our then city manager was going to take it out of our budget until I got 2 checks. And then the next month, in October, I started having to pay a check to help to be on the city council. Now, you did have it, Mickey, and so did you, Mitch.
Of course.
Y'all had it. But now, since you've got insurance, you want nothing but money. And that's fine. That's your decision. Not upset at you.
That's fine.
All right.
I still think you're wrong. So.
Can I hear from the other end of the dais?
I've never received anything on insurance.
Guys, can I get us back on track? We're trying to talk about the council budget, whether or not to reduce it by 42,000. That's what we're talking about.
I'm sorry, Mayor, it's not a reduction.
It's a move.
It's a moving of the budget.
It's reduction
yes,
of money out of your pocket,
out of the
Mr. Parsons.
It's out of the council's expense category, is what he's saying.
Thank you.
Mr. Hewlett.
Well, I for one stated last year, and I'm still standing for it. I did not run a campaign for a raise. Did not run a campaign to get insurance either. Now, you know, if there's a need to get insurance through the council, or if the council feels like they need insurance, the same as the citizens or the employees, the city employees out there, I don't see moving $42,000. So that's the same amount of money they had for raises and everything. So that it's going to be presented to certain individuals and not all the council. So I gotta say down at the other end down there that the insurance and the salaries are pretty much the same thing when you get to talking about it.
Well, so you,
I think.
Salary is the
Hang on. He's basically making a statement that it's a wash.
it's not a wash if everybody don't take it like our employees. Our employees don't get paid in lieu of turning down insurance. We shouldn't either. That's my point. I made that point originally. So I'm just saying, call the question, please.
All right. Any other discussion regarding this amendment? All in favor of amending the council budget to move $42,000 from the council expense into the insurance expense category, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
That amendment doesn't pass. At this time, entertain any other amendments that want to be presented. Any other discussion? Mr. Parson, you had the floor earlier.
Well, first of all, let me compliment staff on a great job on the budget. Wayne is a financial genius, and Ava's such good help. They did a great job of preparing it for us. When I first came on council 7 or 8 years ago, one of the first meetings I asked that we adopt a 5-year strategic plan, which include our budget. As we go forward into the next year, I would like to suggest to staff and to our boards and commissions that we become more attentive to that 5-year plan, making sure that we've prioritized what we want to spend and how we want to do that. The airport board, the parks board, if we would prioritize and look at the things we got going on, so that we make sure that we get those into the strategic plan and move forward with that. Since I've been on council, we've had 2 rate reductions in our property tax, both those authored by me. We've had 2 bond rating improvements since I've been on council. And one of those bond rating improvements specifically mentioned the fact that we had a 5-year strategic plan in place and how that was working. First of all, I have a question for the counselor. If we pass this budget tonight as is, does that approve the utility rate adjustments?
No.
Then how can you pass the budget? How can you pass the budget if 50% of your revenues aren't going to be set?
You have not addressed the utility rate study yet.
We've not addressed the utility rate study. But when you pass this budget, including in that is 18 million bucks resulting from an adjustment in price of the utilities. So I'm questioning how you can approve the budget without ever having approved the utility study. So that'll be an issue we have to look at.
Well, I can tell you that we're budgeting that, and the revenues are very similar to what we are. We've increased it some, but we were going to put that in reserve. So we estimated those revenues based on certain levels.
Based on that,
on the rate study and so forth. But it's, you know, the difference is $500,000 to $600,000, and we take out the 400 reserve. If in fact you don't pass the rate study, then we don't put the 400,000 in reserve. So
well, I understand that. I mean, this current year's budget for the utility part of the program is $16,550,000. The budget that you've got in coming forward is $18,320,000. So that's really showing $1,760,000 pickup from this rate study. I'm going to be hard pressed to want to approve a budget where we're not even sure that the revenues that we're working on in there are what we're looking at.
Well, that budget last year was down. I mean, it was not. We had more revenue come in last year.
Mm-hmm. But it seems to me like we're getting the cart before the horse here on approving a budget without understanding what's going to happen to the utility rates. Let me ask a couple. I've got a couple more questions here. In Granbury Historic Properties on page 35, I don't know if this is the right place for it, but earlier in the year, we approved a transfer of funds of some $250,000 from Granbury Historic Properties to the city to cover expected expenses for certain things to do at the Opera House. When I look at the Granbury Historical Properties, I don't see an adjustment in that budget for 2012 or 2013. Is that where I should be seeing that number?
The lease, the leases. What are you talking about in that?
Well, I think we made a specific allocation of $250,000 out of Granbury Historic Properties over to the city of Granbury. That $250,000 was going to be used to for the fly rails and things like that.
Okay, that's not in the budget. That's in current year. You made that.
Well, that's what I'm looking at. It's not in the current year. There's no adjustment.
Granbury
it shows up in Granbury Historic Properties.
As regards to Granbury Historic Properties, that has not taken place yet.
Okay, then we've got a problem because we approved that based on y'all saying that you did approve that.
I don't recall a meeting where we approved that.
I do. We're going to call that meeting, but we're getting ready. We have till the end of the year.
Because I recall specifically that we said that we would not pass that $250,000 expenditure till it came out of Granbury Historic Properties, and we had an affirmative that would happen.
We just haven't called the meeting.
The meeting just hasn't occurred yet.
We've been dealing with the budget, but no, we all agree that we're going to call that meeting back.
But you brought it back to council, and we approved the $250,000 at council level.
Well, we have until the end of the year to do that.
And that wasn't what we agreed on that. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me ask, huh? Go ahead.
Make a correction to what you just said. And we actually were going to do a transfer of $50,000 from the Granbury Historical Property. $200,000 was already in the Opera House account. So that we were not going to transfer
we're going to recognize as an expense because we are spending $250,000.
Okay.
But that's in the current year. That's not in the budget. We have the money.
Okay. In the tourism revenues, or somewhere back in here, did we make any adjustment for this $65,000 we having to give Granbury Theater Company for our failure to get the Opera House finished? Is that in here anywhere?
Well, it come out partially of this year, but also
you made an adjustment. I didn't see it in the.
We're going to share the 25% profit that we're projecting is going to be.
Well, then you need to then you need to
We
show
can
both sides of
We
it.
can put in a revenue and expense.
Everything in here's
Net
grossed
zero.
up.
It would be net zero.
Everything in here's grossed
That's
up,
how
and I
we
hope,
would- That's how we would budget it, net zero.
I hope we collect that money. I'm not saying it, but
That's
you need
something.
to book
We
them by
make
the
a
cup.
lot of estimates in the budget. Okay?
All right. In the Opera House budget itself on page 134, there's $18,000 there for consultants, and then $45,000 for other expenses. What is what consultants are we hiring there?
Well, we're hiring Andrew for one,
Okay.
and it
So his
flows over to the next year.
okay. And then what?
Remember, we talked about this in budget workshop, if you'll remember.
Mr. Tyra, would you please just give me the floor? Thank you. I appreciate that. $45,000. What is that to?
45,000 in
Other expenses.
that's actually the cost of the loan, if I remember right. Is it historical properties you're asking about?
Opera House expense.
I'd have to go look at that number.
Okay. All right. All right. So I have an analysis here I will share with all the councilmen. It's an analysis that will support what I'm proposing, which is a 4.5 cent reduction in the property tax rate. You'll pass those down. And it's fairly simple. Reserves for 2012 and analyzing that, I think at our last council meeting, the budget discussed about that was $750,000.
Can I call your attention to something that I found out? Counselor, if you can follow what I'm going to say, we talked during the previous minutes. I'm sorry, during the previous meeting regarding a budget which was based upon a tax rate of the effective tax rate, and that's what we have before us. I just want
that is incorrect. Look at your schedule in the front of this book. You've not set the tax rate. You still set the tax rate, but down here on the 25th and the 28th and the 4th. So you've made a vote on that, but you've not set the rate for the
Well,
year.
you're saying we didn't approve the rate.
Right.
I mean, but we moved it
A suggested rate.
because we went to the effective tax rate.
it went to.
There was no reason to have the public hearings if we moved it up to this. Okay, I mean that's what
That-
Okay.
That's where
So
we're at
what
now.
y'all are saying, you don't want to try to reduce the taxpayers' expense by 4.5 cents on their ad valorem. You don't want to send $400,000 back to taxpayers.
Well, the fiscal year budget that we have is based upon the effective tax rate. And if you'll notice, the second item on our agenda is to adopt the effective tax rate.
Okay. So what I'm going to propose,
They're sort of hand in hand together.
I want to make a motion that we accelerate the capital expenditures in year 2013 of $400,000 into the current year.
Yes, you talked about that, and those capital improvements are somewhere throughout the budget that we have before us. Is that right, Mr. Parson?
Yes.
And do you know specifically where those items are?
Yes, they're in the first tab, second, third tab behind pages like 147, 148. In our last meeting, we had information from staff said that we were looking for a projected reserve balance of some $750,000. At that meeting, we approved capital expenditures of some $319,000. That leaves us with excess reserves headed into 9/30/12 this year, with something like $431,000 in excess reserves. In other words, taxpayers' money that we've collected and we're not spending. Just goes into a kitty and sets there. So we have $431,000 in excess reserves coming forward. we have $400,000 in capital expenditures projected for next year. Why don't we just move those $400,000 up to this year, and that'll give us excess reserve at the end of 9/30 of $31,000 instead of $431. Then once you remove that $400,000 in capital expenditures from next year's budget, you add that to the projected surplus according to our budget of 109, gives you $509,000 projected budget surplus. If you adopt my 4.5 cent reduction in ad valorem tax, assuming that each penny is $100,000, which is pretty close, that would give you a $450,000 reduction in that revised budget. So now you would have a revised surplus for the end of fiscal year 13 of some $59,446.
The only problem you have with that, just to make sure you understand, is that with that 4% reduction the following year for 2013-14, you wouldn't have money for capital expenditure. You'd have to increase the rate to get back.
Where's that now? In which year?
In 2013-14, you wouldn't have.
13 or 14?
13 to 14. The next year.
Right.
Well,
no, you wouldn't, because those expenditures were moved into this surplus year.
Yeah, I know, but the following year, 2013-14, you wouldn't have any money for your capital expenditures. You have to raise the rate back up.
Right.
Okay, so you're saying you want to take it down. You want to take it down this year, but
well,
take it
I
up
don't.
the following.
I would prefer that the money I save go into my savings account and not into the city savings account. We're fixing to, what we're going to be looking at is a utility study is showing that we're going to raise the utility rates by $1.7 million.
That hadn't been voted on yet either.
Whoa, yeah.
That hadn't been voted on either.
Okay, well, it's fixing to be. You're fixing to approve the budget with that number in there.
Wayne, let me ask you a question real quick. We just got through spending some money. Is this part, last meeting, was that out of that 750? Have we still got the 750?
No, we don't. No.
Okay, that's one
That's the
progress.
first part of my analysis.
Yeah, that's what 319.
He's adjusting.
All right, here's my concern. I don't think we need to have millions of dollars laying around. But on the other hand, I wouldn't want the city our size to only have $60,000 and say this is going to get us out of our progress.
Let me
I'd rather have money to operate my business than try to give it back to them. I mean, I'm for giving away tax money back to them. I am, but I don't want us to come up like we did 3 years ago when I first got on the council, and we had to move money out of one fund because we didn't get enough tax from property. Was that 3 years ago, Wayne, when we transferred the money back to the city, back to the general fund? We didn't have enough money, and we don't want to get in that. I mean, I don't want to put these people out there. I'd like to say, okay, you're going to save $7 a month, but at the end of the year, where we don't have the money, we may have to go up $100 a month on it.
Okay.
Mayor,
may I suggest, may I let you know that I'm looking at a general fund cash flow analysis that shows the city at the end of this year will have $6 million in cash in its operating fund, in its general fund. $6 million worth of cash sitting there unspent, no idea how we're going to spend it. $6 million. No.
We don't have any reserve. None whatsoever.
That is automatically counted for in the budgeting process. There's automatically a 1% reserve addition.
It is an unrestricted.
Yeah, there's $6 million unrestricted cash.
Yeah, we talked about that we have up to 56%. That's why we're going to spend some money. So
Yeah, when,
tax.
because you did present that to us at the budget workshop, which talked about the fact that we've got a unrestricted reserve of $5.2 million and an expense to reserve ratio of 66%. 56%.
Yeah. And so at 750, you're absolutely right. We're bringing it on up to about 6. Maybe we're going to spend $300,000 or $400,000 of that. So it's going to be more like about.
So Tony, and my understanding, and I do have a master's degree in accounting and I'm a CPA, so I have a fair understanding. I do. I have a master's degree in accounting and I'm a CPA. So you've got, the budget says, okay, so you're flat in the budget, $59,000. That's flat in this budget. you're still sitting on $6 million in cash that you don't have any plans to spend.
Then why don't we give them about a 20% discount? We've got that much money.
We can.
Councilman Parson.
We can.
Councilman Parson.
No, I'm not prepared to make that motion now because of this.
Councilman Parson, can I put in my 2 cents for a minute?
Sure.
All right. In the future, we do have plans for an expansion at the airport of a $1.4 million outlay to expand the hangars.
Okay.
That money could be eat up.
So you got $3.6
by
million
that.
left.
All right. I'm looking at some of the budget items that were discussed, of which several of them are 5-year leases. We have a crew truck, whereas $45K for the first year of a 5-year lease is coming out.
Where are you?
I'm under utilities.
Okay, we're talking general fund here.
Okay. All right. Let me go to general
We're
fund.
talking general fund.
We have to keep 25% in there.
You-
I understand that. Yeah.
So it's you only have, if you use $1.3 million or whatever, or $1.6 million, and you'd be down, you wouldn't have $3 million. So you have to keep about $200 million.
Right. But you can make this property tax reduction of 4.5%, and you won't affect the debt service ratios on the general fund. You won't affect utilities at all. It's just offsetting. I mean, you're fixing to raise utilities by $1.7 million. Let's give them back something, you know.
I kind of agree with you. You know what? We had that guy the other day came in and wanted a brand new fire truck and said it's been on the agenda or a budget for the last 5 years. And I talked to Wayne on it, and he said, that's right, we've been taking it off. So that's only $700,000 more. Let's spend it off. What do y'all think? Let's buy a new fire truck.
Well, gentlemen, before we move further with this discussion, I need some specifics as to which capital expenditures you're referring to, Mr.
Page
Parson.
149 in your budget book.
I need the specifics, though.
Page 149 in your budget book.
I'm there, sir. I just need the specifics.
Police, public safety, $174,000 to be spent on buying new trucks. $17,000 for the fire department, although that's not the $700,000 truck they wanted. Parks and Recreation, $117,000. Cemetery, $45,000. Building maintenance, $9,000. Fleet maintenance, $38,000. All that totals up to $400,000. That can all be spent in this current year. Get it out of any consideration for next year, and you'd have money in your budget to pass the tax reduction.
Well, can I draw your attention once again to these are 5-year leases on several of these categories that you mentioned, okay?
These are purchased assets. If it's a 5-year lease, then that amount is into the 5-year strategic plan. Only the current year's expenditure is in there.
I just want you to narrow this down to where we've got some specifics here to decide in an amendment, please, sir. So
capital improvements, page 149.
You want to move all of those to this year's budget. If you'll make that in the form of a motion, we can continue.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accelerate the expected capital improvements for the fiscal year 2013 and move them forward into the current year, fiscal year ending 2012.
All right, gentlemen, we have a motion on the floor to accelerate the capital improvements listed on page 149 in the amount of $400,000 from the 2012-2013 budget and put them into this year's budget. Needs a second, please. That motion's going to die for lack of a second, Mr. Parson. All right.
Mr. Mayor, appreciate the opportunity.
You bet, sir. Any others from this side of the dais, please? Anybody? All right. Back to you, Mr. Tyra.
Thank you. Go ahead.
No, back to Mr. Tyra. I didn't see you there, Mr. Allen.
In light of the financial problems we're seeing across the nation with cities, municipalities laying off people and having problems, we're very fortunate to be where we are, and that's because of Wayne and his staff and what they've done. We've worked this over for 2 or 3 days in a budget workshop, plus we were given these numbers that Mr. Parson came up with this revelation tonight and told to come back and work it out, and we've done that. Tonight, it was very clear we were coming here. There were some amendments, but this what we heard tonight, I mean, we didn't even talk about transferring funds. We've got a utility fund right now, and we're struggling with that utility fund. So for us to say, well, we got all this money in general fund, it's foolishness. I'm asking my peers to please move forward, steady, and let's do the right thing tonight by passing us a budget. And if you guys don't want to remove those to the insurance, hey, you said you voted. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not going to bring it back up. But maybe somebody else wants to bring it up again.
I'm just saying it's already been decided, please.
Okay, so let's move forward with staff's recommendation. I mean, we're not asking the financial staff, what do they think of all this?
Thank you, Mr. Tyra. Let me hear from Mr. Allen, please.
I just got two questions, Mayor. I know Mickey had put the $80,000 for the Waterfront Homeowners Association on the budget, and we talked about it a moment ago, and Wayne said that he was putting it on a different fund. But the question is, and I don't know to ask Mickey or ask the mayor, but is that $80,000 before we just write them a check, or what are we going to do with them? Are we going to bring it before the council and let us vote on how they spend our money?
Councilman, that's $80,000 is not figured into the 2012-2013 budget, just so you know.
No, and it's not in the 2012. No, it's not in 2012.
It's not in the 2012-2013 budget, as we see here before us.
I think we need to have some more discussion on that, given the legal documents that we've seen about donation, how we're going to do that. I think we need to have some discussion about that.
But here's,
and so I'm going to.
But in answer to your, hang on, just in answer to your question, that is not figured into this budget that we are. We've got a motion on the floor to approve.
Wait just a second. You just told Mr. Parcel that it was not in this coming year's budget. You're taking out of this year.
No. I said I couldn't take it out of this year. It is not in next year's budget, but it's going to be the first budget adjustment that I bring forward, so we can have some discussion and make a budget adjustment.
Okay, so we'll just
discussion. I didn't want to.
We'll discuss that at a future council, sir.
With that discussion.
All right. So any other discussion regarding amendments to the budget?
I've got one more.
I would like to make a motion. We put the $25,000 in the current year budget for Clean Air Coalition.
I second that motion.
That's not part
that. Of the budget. Hang on, because we're working. I'm working with this budget. Okay, I'm working with the 2012-2013. Let's put that after we figure out where we're at on the 12-13 fiscal year budget, please. And I'll entertain that motion after we conclude, because we're still talking budget. All right? So here we are. Gentlemen, we have a motion to approve the budget as presented for the fiscal year 2012-2013.
I have one more amendment.
Aye.
Just one more minute, if you don't mind.
I thought we were there.
I know. I want to try one more time. What?
So close.
Is there any support? Is there any support just to remove the 42,000 period? I'll move that we remove the 42,000 period. Don't put anywhere. Just remove it from the council expense. That's my motion.
We have a motion to remove $42,000 from the council budget. Requires a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion, and we do have a second by Mr. Perkle. Now then, we can talk about just the $42,000.
I think I've talked enough about it.
Okay, well, you might have. I haven't.
Call the question.
Don't I get to speak?
Oh.
I mean, my gosh. Let me have a chance to talk. I'm the one who actually asked for this item to be placed onto the budget this year, whereas the mayor would wind up receiving a salary of some $30,000 as an annual salary. Now, the reason I brought this forward is I don't plan to run again, but I'm hoping that somebody plans to run. And I got to looking at my calendar. I'm a self-employed businessman, sole proprietor, one-man operation. And when I first ran for office, I was told that this is one of those places where you only have to be there part-time. You don't have to be present day to day. I've got to tell you, I come down here a lot of days. I got to figuring in my first term, I was here for 361 meetings and events in 1 year's time. I served on 22 city council meetings. I served 194 days just coming down and doing mayoral duties. In my first 12 months of the second term, which I want to remind you, the second term has now been increased by an additional 6 months because it doesn't end until November of this year. But in the first 12 months, once again, I served on 24 city councils, 215 days. Now, remind you, these are 215 days when I would be normally conducting business. So 215 days, I did some sort of mayoral duty which interfered with the conduct of my business. Now, I may be crying to the ceiling here and nobody wants to hear it, but my hope is that the next person that comes into this position understands there is a job involved here. And it is a part-time job. It doesn't require getting more money than the average worker, full-time worker down here at City Hall. At $30,000 a year, it's enough incentive to get somebody off their couch to do some work down here because there is work involved. You need to be informed. Your name as the mayor winds up on every document that's signed on behalf of the city. Now, if you're willy-nilly and you think you don't want to read what you're signing, all I can say is that's a fool's move. You need to be informed. You need to know what's going on. You need to be informed and be assertive in what you're doing. Just to study the city council, I spend more time, but all of us should be spending that time. So that's off the book, okay? But when it comes to dealing with the agenda items, with discussion amongst individuals in the city, with discussion amongst agencies in the city, I think I've been over and above where I need to be. But it's all diligent duty on behalf of my mayor's hat. I wear 3 different hats. I have a family hat, I've got the mayor hat, and then I've got my Pratt man hat. And I got to tell you, as Pratt man, I've lost $200,000 during the first 2 terms of my mayorship because I couldn't conduct business like I had previously. Whereas everybody informed me, no problem, you can still be a businessman. So that was the reason for my bringing up a $30,000 increase on behalf of the mayor's salary and a $500 increase on behalf of all the council members. And with that being said, I'll let anybody else talk.
My position hasn't changed. I thought the salary.
Oh, I'm sorry. City manager informed me it's a $12,000 increase. Thank you.
I voted for the salaries when they came through the first time. I thought they were fair then. Once you let the cat out of the bag and you decide it's not a service industry, then the amount that you pay is really just a pissing contest.
Councilman Allen, you leaned forward like you wanted to talk.
Yes, sir. Well, like I said, when I first got on, I knew our insurance was going to be taken away from us. I never would have voted or made a motion or seconded whatever I did to cut the pay, but that's hindsight. I've been to the same meetings you have, Mayor, and plus we go to TML meetings, we go to Austin for meetings. I don't get paid for that. I spent, Wayne could tell you, probably a day and a half a week trying to meet with people to come in to Granbury, introduce them to Shannon. We got a meeting Friday at 9:30. I got another one at 11. Got one tomorrow at 2:30. I own a restaurant, and I need to work down there. I haven't lost as much as Mayor yet, but I'm getting darn close. But you know what? I don't care if they don't give us nothing. Go to zero. I don't care. I didn't take this job for the money, and I don't care. If it votes for it, I'm going to vote to take the raise. If I don't get elected next year, so be it. One of y'all get up and run against me. I don't care. I'm losing money too, and the city's doing good. It's a lot better shape today than it was 2 years ago, and I'm doing my best, and I'm voting for it.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Mr. Perkle?
I've seconded this because I wanted the public to know exactly what we go through up here. A lot of you think we don't do anything, and you think that the mayor doesn't do anything, and so I withdraw my motion, my second.
Well, that puts us in a quandary. That means that your motion, sir, is now not have a second. Any other amendments to the budget, gentlemen?
Let's call the question on the budget and get it over with.
All in favor of approval of the budget for fiscal year 2012-2013 as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
I need a show of hands. All those in favor of adopting the fiscal year budget for 2012-2013 as presented, raise your hands, please. You got scared, Mr. Allen?
No, I'm thinking after what Mickey just said, we didn't get his amendment in there, did we?
No.
So there's
No amendments.
there's
No
no
amendments
change
were
to it.
changed.
There's no change.
There were no changes made. All the amendments that we went through, gentlemen, I'm just going to remind you where we're at. We started off with a motion to approve the budget. We got a second on that motion. We are now went through any amendment changes that you wanted to present. All of them have died for lack of approval, okay? So we're right back to where we were, square one. It just gave everybody an opportunity to talk about all the issues. So once again, I need a show of hands, all those in favor of adopting the fiscal year budget 2012-2013 as presented, please raise your hands. All those opposed, raise your hands. All right, gentlemen, that means we're still in a quandary because we have a fiscal year budget that has not been adopted, so it's got to be brought back before council. It's got to be brought back. That means item number 2. Please make a note that item number 1 died for a failed to pass. That means the budget will have to be represented, and there'll be some changes made, I guess, based upon what you've heard as discussion and brought back. Item number 2 is now removed from the table. You can't adopt a tax rate fiscal year 2012-2013.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that the utility rate study be brought before council for a vote before the budget is approved.
That's impossible.
I need to refer to our charter and make sure. And it has to be presented by August, is that correct? I'm just asking. The budget has to be presented by August 1, and it was done that. But now we have until the end of this fiscal year to pass the budget and establish the tax rate based upon that budget. So we need to, at this point, we need to set another public hearing to discuss this again, gentlemen. So let's look at your calendar.
September 4th, next meeting.
All right. At this time, we'll set a public hearing for September the 4th, and I'm going to need a motion to do so.
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Tyra. Needs a second, gentlemen. Second by Mr. Hewlett. We have a motion on the floor to open a second public hearing for the proposed fiscal year budget 2012-2013 for September the 4th. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. That was like pulling teeth. Now we're down to item number 3. Consider and approve an interlocal cooperation agreement for economic development for fiscal year 2012-2013 between the City of Granbury and Hood County. That's Part A. Part B is consider and adopt a resolution whereby the city and the county agree to appropriate $100,000 each for administration of economic development programs for a period of 1 year through September 30th of 2013. This is basically just renewing an existing agreement which states that the city and county both agree to jointly contribute to the Economic Development Corporation the same amount. It's my understanding that Hood County has come forward with an amount in the, for $100,000 to be utilized towards the administration of the EDC. And what we have before us is considering the same kind of reciprocating move by the city of Granbury. All right, this is actually a single lump sum deposit, just so you know, gentlemen. It's not paid monthly or quarterly. It's immediately transferred to the EDC. It does require 2 motions. First motion is to entertain a motion to approve an interlocal cooperation agreement for economic development for fiscal year 2012-2013 between the city of Granbury and Hood County.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Allen. We got a second by Mr. Parson. Any discussion regarding the interlocal? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Mr.
Second
Mayor,
part of this, yes.
I make a motion we consider and adopt a resolution whereby the city appropriates $100,000 for the administration of the economic development programs for a 1-year program through September 20th of 2013, and I would like that $100,000 charged to fiscal year 2012.
Can I ask you to make an adjustment? You mentioned September 20th, 2013. I believe you meant September 30th. All right, so we have a motion by Mr. Parson. Needs a second.
Second it.
I'm going to give that to Mr. Perkle. So we have a motion and a second to move $100,000 basically out of the current budget in the amount of $100,000 to be used for the administration of the economic development program and adopt a resolution thereby stating that fact. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion for the adoption of a resolution passes.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
too late now, probably. But you were talking about the 25,000 that Mickey talked about for clean air, same as the county put in. We want to take that out of this year's budget too. So can we do it? Can we amend that motion and do it all together?
No, we just passed that motion.
Okay.
Let's make sure that's on the 4th.
That probably
We
needs to
can
be-
put that,
Make that
yeah, put that on the September.
we'll put that onto the September 4th agenda. The secretary will make a note about that. That was $25,000 for
Clean air.
clean air and $15,000 for Meals on Wheels.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, that's going to move us down to item number 4. It says to consider and award a construction contract. Gentlemen, I need to take a short break. 10-minute recess, please. Looking at item number 4, gentlemen, we're reconvened in open session again. Consider and award a construction contract to WR Construction Incorporated, located at 5914 County Road 6300, Lubbock, Texas 79416, based on their low bid of $354,630 for the City of Granbury's 100-foot by 100-foot hangar project. And this does have a second part to it. Consider and approve rejection of all bids regarding the add alternate number 1, which is electrical, on this project. The city is going out to get 4 quotes on this work. What we have before us, gentlemen, is we have a hangar that is proposed to be built that will house 4 King Air aircraft. Each one of these King Air aircrafts cost approximately $5 million, and they want to use some hangar space at our municipal airport. They are willing to pay $750 a month in a 1-year agreement, which can be renewed after that first year. And we've received 10 sets of bid documents to build this hangar. If you'll recall, we previously talked about building a hangar for helicopter maintenance. Utilizing the same footprint as that hangar, we are now building a hangar to move forward with aircraft, 4 King Air hangar space. It'll have a large overhead doors. It'll have a pad site capable of handling the weight of the King Airs. We've got a low bid of $354,630 from WR Construction. It's also including an alternate bid, which brought it back up to $385,000. But once again, that is being considered to be rejected from this first initial bid. Keith, is there anything else that you need to tell us regarding this?
No, we need to, if you look at the second item, there's a change order involved with the next item. That's a little over $88,000. That's going to bring that 354 down to $266,000. So that's going to be a part of this bid also. But we need to prove this as it was bid at $354,630, and then we need to not accept and reject the electrical bid.
All right. So here's where we are, gentlemen. We've got a bid that's been presented, been accepted by the city as being the low bid, and it continues to item number 5, gentlemen, just so you understand what Keith is talking about. Item number 5 is a change order for the same construction contract, which will reduce it by another $80-some-odd thousand. So with that being said, I'd entertain a motion to accept.
That'll reduce it to 270. Is that what we're saying?
266. But
in order for us to do the first thing, we've got to accept the low bid that was already bid out there, because
you have to approve what was actually opened the day we opened the bids and what the low bid was.
All right, Keith, does the low bid, do they have no, in their contract, right now, the one we're talking about right now, do they have no change orders guaranteed?
WR Construction, no change orders?
They got the one for taking the dollars away from it.
Yeah, that's what the
You're talking about bringing it back up for
we're fixing to go back and vote next time. I mean, just in here in a few minutes on this second agenda item. So that 266 that you quoted, is that with change orders, or do they have the right to do change orders with that?
That is the change order.
They have the right to do a change order, but we're not going to allow anymore. When we sat down and worked with this and told them what our dollar amount was, and they're not going to have another change order.
Are they here tonight, Keith?
I don't know if they're here tonight or not. I don't believe so.
I mean, we got local people here that does this, and they're here, so I figured they'd be here.
No, they did not come.
What we have before us, gentlemen, as I stated, is we have a low bid contract award to WR Construction Incorporated in the amount of $354,630 for the construction of a 100-foot by 100-foot hangar at the municipal airport. Need to entertain a motion for that, please.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Hewlett. Needs a second, please. Second by Mr. Perkle. Any further discussion regarding this?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
$750 per month times 12 months in 1 year is $9,000.
That's for one plane.
We actually have a letter for 3 right now.
4 planes in there. Okay.
We have 3 right now, and we'll have the 4th one by the time we get this bill.
So we're going to be generating about $3,000 a month. Once we talk about the reduction and the grant that we're getting, the grants we're getting, it's going to go down to about $170,000.
Somewhere with the electric bid.
And the actual cost of that, the monthly cost can be about $1,500 a month. The revenue is going to be $3,000. We're going to be making the taxpayer a positive cash flow.
Once again, this is going to be able to receive some what are called ramp grant, which can be in up to $50,000 of matching funds. So it's a certain portion of the ramp money has already been spent, but there is some $46,000 left in the ramp fund.
And another $50,000
next year. $50,000 after
same amount
after August, I believe it is, isn't it?
It's in September.
It'll be September 1st.
Yeah.
Mayor, unfortunately, I mean, I'm going to vote for this because we're really up against the wall in this, and I'm really struggling because of what I heard just recently about the bid and about the local folks that were able to bid it, and so I know that we take the lowest bid, but we really need to consider keeping this money locally as much as we can. The fact is that I know we're pushed tonight because this grant money is going to run out, September the 1st if we don't do this?
It is.
Okay, so, we're up against the wall. So I guess one of the questions I'd like to ask is why wasn't this here sooner? I mean, what would be the reasoning behind that?
Well, we were negotiating with Texas Air EVAC, and it got delayed to the point that by the time they decided that they were going to delay their decision, that my understanding was October, November. And that's why we designed it so strong for helicopter maintenance, and then once they said we can't do this and we were going to lose the grant, we went ahead and Gary contacted people. These are people, one person went out and was going to buy a $5 million plane just to be able to land here until the 5200. He has a corporate jet.
So the air evac kind of issue kind of slowed us down.
I would have never brought this to you to approve if this hadn't been one of those things that city manager and I was kind of pushed into trying to make happen for another group. And so we did everything we could to make that happen.
And I want to remind you that these planes are capable of landing on our runway, existing runway.
We need them. We need them here.
And they can take off fully loaded with fuel.
Jet fuel.
Yes.
I'm not against doing it, but I got this to say. Keith, you ever heard of the 5% local guy?
Yes, sir, I have. There's a lot of things tied to that. You start looking at that on bid documents. I'm not saying we can't put it in there. I will tell you this. We had a pre-bid meeting. We had locals, whoever's going to bid this project, go ahead and be able to come and voice their opinion about this. And I believe we had all of those same people that bid this project. And at that point in time, I wanted every local person, everybody to tell us how we could save money on this project. Well, we really didn't get a whole lot of input one way or the other, so we put it out to bid. Now, mind you, we're held by the law to take the low bid, okay? And we can negotiate with the low bid.
You got the low bid right here, local, G-Force.
Well, they were the third on the list.
But if you take the 5% off, they're the cheaper one of all of them, period.
But if we did that, we're going to have to put that in our specs, is what I'm saying, to do that, Tony. We're going to put that in our specs up front, let everybody understand that before we do that. And if we decide to do that, we need to look at that and then do it that way.
You don't have to put them in your specs, Keith. You don't. That is the rule.
Mr. Allen, you and I discussed this.
Yes, we did.
And you're wrong.
Well, I'm still arguing with you.
It does have to be in the specs up front. All the bidders have to have the same rules up front. You can't just carve the bid at the last second to make a local guy the low bidder just because you want.
Well, how are they going to put a 100-foot roll-up door in a 100-foot wide building? That's what I want to know. Without a change order. Answer that, Stuart.
I'm not going to answer that question. What I'm going to do is respond to you what the law is, and we've already discussed this issue. I'm not going to talk about the engineering of the building or the design of it.
All right. So, with all this discussion being said, entertain a motion to award. Well, I've already got a motion and I've got a second. We've been talking about it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Please note for the record that Councilman Allen said nay. All right, so now we've got that approved. Now let's go to item number 5. Consider and approve a change order to the I'm sorry.
Mayor, I
jumped part B.
I move that we reject all bids regarding the add alternative number 1 electrical on this project.
We have a motion by Mr. Tyra to reject all bids regarding the add alternate number 1 electrical. Needs a second. Second by Mr. Parson. Any discussion regarding this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Now let's go jump on down to item number 5. This is a change order. Consider and approve a change order to the construction contract with WR Construction Incorporated for the 100-foot by 100-foot airport hangar project. City received 10 bids of the airport hangar project. The lowest responsible bidder was the WR Construction. After some discussion with WR Construction, a change order was issued which reduced the amount to $266,000 from the previously approved $354,630. This attached change order is under the 25% according to the state purchasing statute, so it runs along with this. Once again, the ramp fund money that I talked about is in the amount of $48,350 applied towards this. And as regards to the door opening, Mr. Allen, is now 80 feet by 20 feet.
Is how much?
80 by 20. In the change order, it's noted. There's also a reduction in the concrete, and all of this brings the revision of the construction cost down to $266,000.
But if you add that back, the electrical that we got to do, what's that going to be?
Well, the elect.
20, I can tell you that right now. We're looking at all of our local people to do that.
Okay.
And that's why I put it there that way to start with.
What's the cost going to be, Keith?
I don't have all the bids in now, but we're looking at under 20.
But what we're looking at right here is a change order and approval of a change order.
It's not part of it.
Mayor, I just had a few questions for Keith concerning change orders, since we're on the agenda item that speaks to that. Now tell me, because there has been a lot of talk about this item in the local and the situation. I appreciate everything you said and agree that we need to be specific and use local people and put those things in the specs. I heard that we've never done that before. Well, it's time to do it. And I appreciate you using local electricians for this 20,000 situation you're doing on electrical. But tell me, it's very important when you say to the council that you are not going to allow any change orders. I understand on these projects, if in fact someone says we bid it this way because your engineering drawing is this way, and if you want this, now we're going to have to add this beam, this red iron, this situation. Do staff feel absolutely sure, or can you absolutely tell this, or do you have the authority under this agreement that we have? I hadn't seen the total agreement, that they cannot come back to you and say, no, we have to have a change order.
We have pretty well spelled this out with the engineering firm, with a lot of my staff, the airport manager, and we're pretty well to the point. We're not going to allow no change orders. We know what we want. We know the building's going to be good quality. We're going to put a door in it. We're going to frame it. We're going to put it up. We're going to put planes in it. There's not going to be any change orders on this deal.
We're going to put it up. Who's putting it up?
Well, it'll be this contractor.
Okay.
WR Construction.
So you wouldn't have no problem if somebody made a motion that there'll be no change orders unless it's approved by the city council?
I mean, if you feel like you need to do that, that's fine.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, we're not going to allow no change orders. I've been in these projects before.
Well, we have this change order. Well, so what we have before us, gentlemen, just to reiterate, we have a motion to approve a change order number 1 to the construction contract for the 100-foot by 100-foot airport hangar project at the municipal airport. Entertain a motion to approve the change order.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Parson, a second by Mr. Perkel. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to see on that motion that we put in there that our employees will not take a trip to Lubbock or Abilene on this deal. They already been out there once because the guy wouldn't come to Granbury on the bid. That'll save taxpayers more money. Or if it's done local, they can drive 3 miles and see him, or he'll drive into town. So I'm just asking if they'd do that. If they want to save taxpayer money. If they don't.
And you understand, we didn't go see the contractor. The engineer was in Lubbock, and he had his CAD system. And we wanted to make sure that if we need to change the drawing, look at something, we both met at the engineer's office, not the contractor's office. Because I won't do that. I'd rather go to the engineer so we can all be there together in these things. But let me say one thing, and to all the people out here in this business. I want to keep as much business in Granbury, Texas as we possibly can. There is laws that I have to follow.
I need you to address the council.
Well, there is laws that I have to follow, and I'll make sure we do that, or we'll have the Attorney General down our throat, and I'm not going there. But we have these pre-bids. We're fixing to have 43 more hangars this next year. And we'll probably start working on that in October sometime, once that budget's approved. And I would love to see our local folks build all these if there's any way possible. But I do have to follow the law. And I wish they'd come to my office and talk to me, make sure that we're all up front with everything, and put this out to bid. They bid on this project, and they get their numbers down there where we can go with it.
Would you, when you do that bid, will you do it like Mr. Neal was saying?
We'll
advertise that 5% up front?
We'll have to look at what kind of verbiage we're going to put in there, not just that law, but what we got to do. And I'll get with city attorney and see if there's anything we can put in our standard bid documents to look at that.
I think we really want the local people to do it. I think we'd have something like that in their contract.
So we've got a motion on the floor to approve the change order number 1. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Please make a note that the motion carried. We have 1 nay from Councilman Allen. Gentlemen, we are now down to item number 6. Yes, ma'am. Right, but that died for a lack of us. Anybody making
a second on it or anything.
they never wanted to adopt that. There was none, and it requires the person who made the motion originally to accept that amendment, and I never heard him respond. So with that, it moves on. Item number 6, consider and approve annual street closures for the Harvest Moon Festival, a celebration of the season scheduled to take place in October 2012, and for Granbury's Country Christmas Night of Lights Parade, scheduled to take place in November of 2012. For this, you can read in your packets that it's a pretty normal closing of the streets. Entertain a motion to approve the street closures.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Tyrer. We've got a second by Mr. Perkle. Any discussion regarding this?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I suggest we close those streets permanently and just open them on nights that there's not something. Wouldn't that be easier? I mean, we'd vote on this less often if we'd do it that way.
Mayor.
I know that was said in jest, but yes.
I would like to say one thing, that every time we close them down, there's about 5 merchants on the square, and I won't call no names, we all know who they are, says that we block we put no parking all around the business, and they have no place to park. And they even had some vendors on the 4th of July that said, why do we have to put no parking down all side streets? And I don't know that answer.
The reason for that is for safety, evacuation routes. In case of any kind of an emergency evacuation, those routes are required to be opened by the police department. That's any kind of a fire equipment.
144.
It's all of those streets have to remain open, and that's why the
problem is, though, Mayor,
you'll need.
We don't have no parking.
I know, but that's for another discussion.
Okay.
All right. What we have before us, gentlemen, we have a motion to approve the street closures for the upcoming Harvest Moon Festival and the Country Christmas Parade. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Going to move down to item number 7 now. Item number 7, discuss and approve the potential options or contracts regarding the completion of the Opera House redevelopment project. What we've done so far, gentlemen, is there's been a decision to move away from the design-build agreement, which was previously determined to be the most effective way of proceeding with our revitalization effort there at the Opera House. Seems we ran into a stumbling block with bonding issues with Gaffin Construction. I do want to reiterate that Brian Gaffin, architect, is still the architect of record for the project, but it is in our best interest to move forward with the project with another construction company. And we are talking currently with a buy-board construction contractor. He is still working out some numbers, and I believe you got an update from him, didn't you, Mr. McKeffrey?
Well, yes. Ed Wilson is looking at the drawings, at Brian Gaffin's drawings, and they believe that they will have something to me probably middle of next week, so we will bring forth a proposal for the next meeting, September 4th.
Mayor, I'd like to address a statement you made there, because as we have talked about this over and over and worked through some issues, I don't want the public to get some kind of negative connotation when you stated that there was I think your quote was, there was a bonding issue with Gaffin Construction. As you know, and as you made very clear to the public, Mr. Gaffin is our architect and is working with WR and this group very much to get us to a place where we're going to get this done, because he has already went out and got bids. I don't want anything to look negative. In fact, when I looked into the bonding issue, it was something that was going to be approved, but we decided not to go that direction. So I want to make sure for the public they understand that everything is clear, and I didn't ever hear where somebody absolutely couldn't get a bonding. That was brought up along with other issues, but Mr. Gaffin is working with this city and with this another construction company, and I'm very happy with him, and I just want to make sure nobody gets anything negative from what you said. Thank you.
Well, I didn't mean to make it sound negative. I just mentioned a stumbling block with bonding issues. Anybody else want to talk while we've got this about the Opera House as to where we are? I know that I walked into the place. We have city crews currently removing some of the existing structure within the walls of the Opera House in the interim while we're waiting for the construction company to get back with us. Any other updates you want to give to the public?
That will save us time and money, okay, because it's one less step that the construction company has to do. So that's exactly why we're doing it.
The question is, City Manager, is it, I'm being asked, and I'm sure other council members are as well, is anything taking place? And I'm saying yes. The staff's in there right now, clearing up, getting ready for construction.
And, you know, it's my expectation, we need to get the contract, we need to get the proposal, but there will not be a major delay from what we discussed earlier. I don't perceive. This is a large construction company. They have larger crews than what we're going to be able to put on. They have a number of crews. And so they were coming up with some of those things.
And
multiple shifts.
Is it clear? Is it clear? Is there any truth that we'll be able to actually have $1,000 a day or $2,000 a day to give them an incentive? And in fact, if they don't reach that goal, then they'll pay us that money.
Absolutely.
Okay,
we're
great.
negotiating that as well.
Is that 180 or 240, Wayne?
We haven't locked in on that.
We haven't locked in yet. They did have an issue with 2,000. I'll have to be honest with you.
Okay,
I've talked to them since. I've recommended $1,000.
Okay.
And so, but we're still in negotiation with that. Huh?
I think 1,000 is too light. You take, if they're running, it's a $1.8 million contract. If they're running 60 days behind, it's $60,000. What is that, less than 0.5%?
Well, Councilman, we don't have that before us yet. We don't even have the contract before us, so I appreciate your discussing it.
For both of them.
Okay. I'll work.
Wayne,
All right.
Wayne, is there going to be a new timeline that's going to come out? Or
Yes, in that proposal. Yeah. I can tell you they had in their previous proposals 180 days and 210, 180 and 210.
180 and 210.
210. So that, I don't know that that has changed, but we're still talking to them, and we'll get with them and work the next week with them.
And it'll be brought back before this council for consideration at that time. So we'll move on to item number 8, which is not going to be discussed. We've decided that's not going to take place. It'll be removed from tonight's agenda due to some other items. That brings us to executive session. So I now declare that the Granbury City Council is convened into open session and that all members are present. The City Council will now go into closed session pursuant to provisions of the Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in the following sections. Section 551.071, consultation with an attorney, as well as Section 551.074, personnel. We shall return. At this time, we'll reconvene back in open session. Took no action back in executive session. Any action to be taken, gentlemen?
What I was going to ask, Lynn, is there anything on the table? Nothing? Okay. All right. No,
There being no further business before this council, this meeting is adjourned.